Their sashimi is very good.
Tall guy, mustache, young looking, always friendly, always
Not the
play
white hair guy.
gray hair.
Yes. We have sound.
I'll find a picture for you. You'll look at him and go, I know exactly who he is.
Okay.
There's cake in the birthday cake from Jean's birthday prize. You guys get hungry later.
Yeah, if you get hungry, there's birthday cake in the refrigerator.
Yeah. Stale birthday cake, we'll have it.
It's not that
Oh, look at that. Oh my goodness, glamour shot.
Wow.
Oh my.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Sound gorgeous or?
Always.
You always look gorgeous.
Hey, this is a new background, Gina. Oh, no.
You're mute.
Yep.
She mute or we mute?
No, I muted. No, it's my actual office background or my actual classroom background or whatever. My office/classroom.
All right, Judy.
Hold on, I'm spotlighting.
Oh. Gina, you're about to be in the spotlight.
Okay. wait. Just like at church, I get the thing.
Oh, I get that too. You hit your knee on it, you're like, oh.
The kneelers, I'm with 5 people in a family. The one in the middle gets the split between the 2 kneelers.
Larry's got the door next to him, a little
Oh, geez.
trap door.
All right, Ms. Sullivan, we ready?
I'm still letting people in.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Bedminster Township Committee, regular meeting of February 16th, 2021. Recognize that we have a quorum. So I take the mask off. We have a quorum of Township Committee. Here in Township offices are Committeeman Hickey, Committeewoman Mareski. Attending by Zoom is Committeewoman Fernandez. Committeeman Stevenson has an excused absence this evening. Ms. Sullivan, may we please have the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Yes, sir. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville, Burnsville News in Whippany, and to all subscribers, and then posted at the Township Municipal Building as of January 7th, 2021.
Great. Thank you. Please join me in saying for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and
And
to
to
the
the public
republic
for
which
which
it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
people. You're going to have to mute them. So thanks everyone for joining.
Hold on, I gotta unmute.
All right, all right. There's Judy's doing some muting and unmuting.
Okay, I think, let me find Gina.
Okay, we are on. And Gina can be unmuted.
Okay. You're good.
Okay. Gina's still muted, but I think we'll take her
She
off.
muted herself.
All right. Quick, let me go through the COVID numbers. As of this afternoon, the COVID numbers for Bedminster, 293 confirmed cases, and our fatalities are still at 5. Just a personal observation is that the increase seems to be leveling off. For the last couple of months, we were seeing 4 or 5 positives coming in a day. And I would say over the last couple of weeks, it's come down. So we've had a few days without any, a couple of days with 1, a couple of days with 2, but certainly not like what we were seeing in November and December. So personal observation, once again, the 293 confirmed cases are laboratory confirmed cases and do not reflect those who have not been tested, obviously, and also does not reflect those who's been tested only with the rapid test kit. So said it before, the 293 is probably a low number and is not truly reflective of the amount of virus that's going through the town or has gone through the town. And as we've been saying from day one, there's limited things we can do until the vaccine is widely available. Social distance, wear your mask, wash your hands, and let's be safe, Bedminster. Speaking of being safe, so Friday evening, late Friday evening, and into the start of early Saturday, there was a fire in the Cortland neighborhood, right off of Hills Drive. I issued a statement Saturday morning after having gone out to the scene. We're going to get into, we'll probably spend, my guess is the next half hour or so going through it. I'm going to turn it over to Chief Matt Draheim shortly, just to quickly go through what his department, how they responded. And I know the chief is going to want to mention this, but there were 8 other fire companies. Well, I'm sorry, there were a total of 8 fire companies before the scene ended. For the situation at the fire ended, there were a total of 8 fire companies that responded. I've talked to a number of the firefighters who who responded, and they said perhaps this was one of Far Hills Bedminster Fire Department's better moments. They had the right people there. The younger guys or younger firefighters were well paired up with veterans. They knew what they were doing with the structure. They knew what they were doing managing the fire. They knew what they were doing in managing the scene and managing the fire from around the building.
Just a quick comment, it was Village Green, not Cortland.
Oh, did I say Cortland? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I don't know why I say Cortland. Village Green. And my personal observation, when I got there Saturday morning, Bedminster police were already there and had been there throughout the night. Our construction official was there assessing the units, assessing the damage. And I was looking at the 2 units that were totally destroyed, just burnt straight up. What was interesting is that the units on either side, they had some damage, but they were not totaled. And my remark to the code official was, well, it looks like the firewalls did their job. And he said, exactly right. The firewalls did exactly what they were intended to do. They stopped the fire, or certainly slowed the fire from spreading horizontally. And given the quick response from the fire companies, the fire was managed in such a way that the firewalls did exactly what they were intended to do. They slowed it down, and the fire was, the spread of the fire was contained. With that, I will turn it over to Chief Draheim. Chief, thanks for doing an excellent job over at Village Green on Saturday morning.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, committee, for having me here this evening. So I think Mr. Mayor said it best. So I don't want to belabor it too much, but I can give you the perspective from Far Hills Bedminster Fire Department of what we encountered and what we did to stop this. And I'll be more than happy to take any questions or comments from the board or the public during that. But shortly after midnight on Saturday morning, we were dispatched to a report of a heavy smoke condition and possible structure fire in the Village Green neighborhood. Upon arrival, there was fire found to be in one of the middle units of the structure. Quickly moving to the second unit. That was upon my arrival to the scene. At that time, Bedminster Police Department had already been on scene and were in the process of evacuating all of the residents from the units of the building. Thankfully, all residents were evacuated safely and accounted for. So at which time, once we knew that all of the residents were safe, we went to work at just trying to limit the damage and stop the spread of the fire to any other further units. As when our first arriving engine got to the scene, they were quick to put water on the fire and knock down the fire that was ultimately impeding onto the roof area of the building. That was our biggest concern once we started onto the fire attack, was to making sure that the fire never got to the roof. And my guys did a fantastic job of doing that. So I won't. I cannot say enough about the members of Far Hills Bedminster Fire Department acting as a team and in unison with the common goal of protecting as much property as possible. So I commend all of them for their efforts. And it just turns around and goes to show that all of the training that we ultimately do put in throughout the year for these events that thankfully we do not have often. But all of the training and all the preparation, when it came down to it, everything worked, the way it was intended to work from a training perspective, from a management perspective, and also with bringing in, additional resources from some of our neighboring towns. So because Far Hills Bedminster Fire Department is a volunteer organization, we don't have the luxuries of some of the paid departments or some of the larger towns such as Franklin's and Hillsborough, where there's multiple fire departments in town. So we rely heavily on our neighboring departments to provide us mutual aid, and to offset the amount of people that we need on the scene. So as the mayor said, there were a total of 8 fire departments that responded to the scene. That includes Far Hills Bedminster Fire Department, Pottersville Fire Company, Peapack Gladstone Fire Company, Liberty Corner Fire Company, Burnsville Fire Department, Martinsville Fire Department. We also had Greenall Fire Company and North Branch Fire Company on the scene, all providing various levels of support to the incident. Far Hills Bedminster First Aid Squad and Peapack Gladstone First Aid Squad were also on scene, not only providing EMS support for any residents, but also EMS support for for any firefighters. Luckily, no firefighters were injured either during it. Unfortunately, I can report that one family dog was lost in the fire. And very unfortunate, but that's unfortunately we were unable to make entry into that unit to attempt a save of the pet. But however, with all that being said, everything went well from perspective of a management side, and we did what we are trained to do and what our jobs are. So again, Mr. Mayor, thank you for allowing me to have the time to come here. But for that, I can open it up to if there's any questions or comments that anybody has from the committee side or the public.
Well, Chief, I think I've been in contact with 29 enough over the last couple of days, as well as the police department. So I will turn it over to the Township Committee. Gina, Renee?
I don't have anything, just to say thank you guys for all your work. We really appreciate it.
It's a great job.
And just to reiterate that, Chief, you mentioned before, you're a volunteer organization and not everybody in town realizes that. So people have asked how they can help. And one of the ways they can help is by supporting our local fire department, our local first aid squad. Because
absolutely, yeah. So however that may be, whether or not that's financially through monetary donations or come down and volunteer and get involved. We're always actively looking for for new volunteers, new members. So if there's interest, reach out through us through our website, through our social media accounts, to find out how you can get involved with the organizations. But that is the, we're volunteers, and we only work off of other people volunteering. So the more we have, the more we can do to protect the community.
Great. Chief, if folks do want to make contributions to Far Hills Bedminster Fire Department, how do they do that?
So we have there's a link on our social media accounts, to our Facebook account, that you can make a monetary donation. We also accept monetary donations through the mail. You can mail it to our address at 100 Miller Lane in Bedminster.
Great. So once again, Chief, thank you for all the great work you guys did that night. I know you guys went to, let's see, you probably didn't get home till what, 6 or 7 in the morning?
I think I got in bed a little before 6. Yeah.
Okay. And, as far as response time, I believe the call was what, just a little after midnight, and
yeah, 12:01. The call was dispatched. We had first unit on scene was about 12:08, and the engine was on scene at 12:11. So the pretty quick response times. Yes.
in 7 minutes. Just what a terrific job. And so please thank everyone on the fire department, from everyone.
Absolutely. Yeah, I will pass along your thanks.
Great. And there may be some additional questions coming up. So if you just stick around for a
Sure,
little.
I'll hang around. Absolutely.
Thank you. So the fire, and the first responders, I'll run through the list again. Far Hills Bedminster Fire Department, Pottersville Fire Company, Martinsville, Green Knoll, Liberty Corner, P-PAC Gladstone, Bernardsville, and North Branch. So those were the fire companies. As the chief mentioned, Far Hills Bedminster First Aid, P-PAC Gladstone First Aid, and of course, Bedminster Police. Those were the first responders managing the scene there during the fire. Now, the thing about fires, it's not the end. It's not the end. So in Village Green, this fire knocked out, certainly destroyed 2 units. But in the building of this complex, there's 16 units. As I mentioned before, the firewalls did their job. We believe the fire started in the first floor. That unit destroyed, and the unit directly above it destroyed, but the units to the side were not. Thanks to the firewalls, thank you to the first responders. However, it's not just 2 units that result in displacement of residents. All the units in that building, 16 units, those residents are now displaced indefinitely. Here's to work things out with the fire company. I'll tell you, Saturday morning, the insurance restoration company was already on scene and was putting the plywood up to board everything up. I was there with the construction code official, and he said, look, go off to the side. The 4 units facing Hills Drive, the farthest away from the 2 units that burned. Those 4 units suffered little to no damage. Little to no damage. And what's also interesting, the way electricity is fed into that building, those 4 units are metered separately from the units that did have damage. So from a construction code basis, those units are in good shape. They have electricity, they didn't suffer damage, they could be occupied. However, the water delivery into the building comes through the middle. Until water is restored to those units can't be occupied. So one of the things that did on Saturday and Sunday and yesterday as well as today was send emails around to our and to the township engineers, to our permitting group, to code officials. Since those units could be occupied and we could take folks that are otherwise displaced and put them back into their homes, what can we do in working with the insurance company, the insurance restoration company, to get water back to those units and get them restored as soon as possible? I will tell you, the township staff responded immediately. We can work out a temporary water feature, we can help replumb, whatever permitting, whatever it is that we need to do from the Bedminster Township side, we're ready to do. So I've reached out to folks at Village Green. Judy reached out to the management company, and we're trying to find out who from their end can help us help them get the water back onto those units. And the red card that says uninhabitable can be removed, and those units can be put back in line, and we can take some otherwise displaced folks and put it back in their homes. So we're working on that end. I will also say that we didn't mention this, but our OEM, our emergency management team, was activated immediately early Saturday morning. And I want to give a quick shout out to Chief Rock, who initiated the call, made the calls to our OEM coordinator, Zach Rubin. Zach made phone calls, reached out to Nick Strakov, our shelter coordinator. It was reported at the scene that all the residents who were removed from the buildings said, nope, we got places to go to. We're good, we're good, we're good. Now, that's one thing when it's the heat of the moment and you got a place to stay maybe that night. That's not necessarily the case 2 or 3 days later. People may still be processing their insurance, right? OEM is still available. And I know Nick has reached out to the Red Cross to see what arrangements can be made through our OEM connections. I will also tell you that Grace Chapel, the church on Main Street in Bedminster, has said they are ready and willing to provide and assist in temporary housing for anyone in need. I will also tell you on Saturday morning, I sent emails out to CGP&H, our new affordable housing administrative agent, saying, hey, we've got funds in the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. This is an affordable housing neighborhood. You folks who are going to be in need of housing, and even if the insurance kicks in, is that going to be immediate? Is that going to be a day or two? Is that going to be 3 days? So we made the decision that we can certainly use the Affordable Housing Trust funds to put people up for a week or so until their insurance companies come in and can support them on a more permanent situation. So we are being proactive in trying to manage what I think is, everyone got out unharmed. Sorry about the dog, but everyone got out unharmed. There's still a lot more injury that is associated with this fire that we need to be addressed. And we're doing what we can to make use of township support, our professionals, our consultants and contractors, to put them to work to help these 16, the folks who live in these 16 units, to get them something that's more permanent. I think what we had heard from one of the residents, that they were told from the contractors, well, this could be a year. Now, I'm not sure what their insurance policies are. For all we know, there might be 16 different insurance companies, and maybe a 17th if you count the condo association. So I'm not sure how this is all going to get worked out, but the township is not just ready to support, right? Because ready to support means that you're ready for someone to ask you. That's something I learned a while ago. If you say, I'm ready to help, that's a whole lot different than helping before you're asked. Bedminster Township is doing what we need to do to be out there. The arrangements are being made. And the other thing that Judy and I and Renee were talking about this morning is finding these people. We know their names. We know some of their phone numbers. We don't know all their phone numbers. So, without without getting too much into people's personal details, the town is going to look and see what we can do with the homeowners to get in touch with them and to let them know the assistance that we can provide, and whether it's through township, whether it's through CGP&H as our administrative agent, whether it's through Grace Chapel. We've got resources that we are ready to deploy. We just want to make sure that we can get that information out in a manner that is not going to be disruptive to them. Also, what we're going to do from our end is, look, this involves making insurance claims. Some of these people may be without some of their details, like their policies and records might not be available to them. So what I asked Judy to do is it's work with our fire official, our construction official, chief of police, and put together the documents. So we have a nice package ready to go if folks need information, need paperwork to submit to their insurance companies. So that's already in process. And that's something else we want to reach out to them, and certainly reach out to the Village Green Condo Association to let them know that we've got this package ready to go. Click, hit send. And if that can expedite insurance recovery for some of these displaced residents, we certainly hope that it will. So you've heard from the chief, you heard from me, 16 units displaced, 4 units that once water comes back online, should be able to be put back into habitable use. That leaves 12 units, including the 2 that are gone, destroyed. But that means 12 units that need to be put back, right? So the 2 units that are destroyed, they're gone. But once again, as I come back to the firewalls, the other units have some smoke damage. They have some water damage from the firefighting itself. Some of the roof lines are damaged because that smoke came in. Firefighters had to get access to that area. So there's some other elements of repair that need to be done to the building. Once again, our professional staff is there ready to support the restoration company and their contractors to put the building back so it's not 1 year. And if we can do it, even if we have to do it on a piecemeal basis, that these units can come back online. These units can come back online. Our guys are ready to do it. Once again, the first responders did an excellent job, and now it falls on the Township Committee and our staff to help these folks through the aftermath of that fire situation. Nick Strakov, anything to add from emergency management from the shelter side?
Yeah, thank you, Larry. That certainly is. I did reach out to the Red Cross. There's a gentleman named Tim Johnston who is in charge of that. Very friendly guy, helped me a lot, but the Red Cross will only provide 2 or 3 days worth of assistance, it turns out. They interview the person involved, and then they only have a fixed amount of resources that they devote to that person. And then that person has to go find a hotel or motel. And depending on the rate of the unit is how long that support will last. So I think we're past that time interval where, 2 or 3 days makes a difference. However, he did suggest that I look into social services. And so I did some digging and emailing and phone calling and so on, and finally came upon the Somerset County Board of Social Services. They have an office in Somerville. And I spoke to a person there. That's important because if you call a general number, I understand no one calls you back. But having a particular person helped. And she told me the following. What that organization will do was generally for 2 weeks and maybe up to 4 weeks, they would put a client into a hotel and support them on that. During that time, that's when they expect the client to figure out insurance situation and also be looking for a more permanent place for themselves. And then at the end of that period, assuming that a long-term facility has been found, the board will also pay for the security deposit to get them going. But after that, there's no support. So really the initiative that you started, Larry, about getting the insurance on board is very essential. We have to get that up and running as soon as we can. And then I also could add that just before the call, I received an email from another person who's at the Somerset County Board of Social Service responding to yet another email I had sent out. And she also was saying, please have anyone who needs this help get in touch with them. And also she felt that maybe there were some people already from that fire who have been in touch with them. She wasn't sure, but that's a possibility that the people themselves have found this organization. So hopefully that works out, and that's a good resource for everyone. But if not, we could look further for other social services. And of course, the church that Larry mentioned is also something that
Could you get those contact information over to Judy so that we can have everything in one location? So we, the Township Committee, can act as a clearinghouse for those in need. So
absolutely.
To the extent the Red Cross is still involved, if that's a possibility, otherwise social services. And then we're certainly the contact for Grace Chapel, and also once again for CGP&H. So we can act as the clearinghouse, and it may be up to us to reach out to those 16 displaced residents and to see, have they done anything? What have they done? And I also don't want to forget that what we're going to do is we're also putting together a fund drive. So just as we did with the food bank, the food pantry, a pop-up food pantry, we're going to run a pop-up fund drive. So we know folks, and some of these displaced residents have children. Some are senior citizens. They may be without a house. Some of them are without anything. When I was out there Saturday morning, one of the residents, one of the ones who lost everything, was talking to the police officers like, how do I get my driver's license? Oh. So it not only is getting a driver's license tough when it's not a pandemic.
No. They have to get copies of all their vital records.
And there's no copies of anything.
Yeah.
So folks are going to be pretty distraught, and you know, there's only so much we can do here, but whatever we can do, we should be able to do. And if it's helping, do a fund drive, my recommendation after, certainly having been involved in the pop-up food pantry and talking to Colin and Renee and Robin and Gina, is gift cards, cash.
Yeah, we will be adopting a resolution allowing us as a township to accept cash that we can put in a
Great.
special account for this purpose. So,
Great. So we'll come, as Judy said, we're going to come to a resolution in a little bit. That'll talk about what we can do from our end that officially allows Bedminster Township to collect cash and donations. That's what I have on the fire so far. So I know we do have some other, while we have Nick and Chief Draheim. Barbara, I'm not sure if you have any questions from the Master Association. So if anyone has any fire-related comments or questions,
you need to raise your hand.
raise your hand on Zoom. Go to the bottom of the screen, participants, click raise hand, and we'll bring you in for a question or comment regarding the fire situation.
Jeff?
Hi, I didn't see the button on there, but if you've allowed me to say a couple of words. As some of you know, my girlfriend Lisa is one of the displaced residents and also a board member on Village Green's board. She couldn't attend tonight because Village Green is having their meeting right now as we speak. So we'll have some updates from that and I'll pass it along to you guys. I wanted to say thank you, first of all, to both chiefs on the call for everything you guys did. It was really very much appreciated by everybody I talked to, at least over there anyway. And you guys should be proud. It was an excellent response time. Also, I've been down this road before. Here in Wynwood, we had a fire almost 9 years ago. It's similar, but I think this week was a lot worse. But we did, lose all people. Were displaced for several months. It was in April of 2012. And just a little insight as to what wound up happening there, if you want to pass this along. It's generally, and this may differ in Village Green for some reasons, but generally what happens is the association's insurance is usually the one that kicks in first and decides how much restoration is needed. And then they bring the units up to builder grade or just standard move-in condition. And then anything above and beyond that is usually done individually with each of the unit owners and their insurance. That's just the way that I recall it happening at the time. So I just wanted to pass that information along. But again, also thank you to everybody in the township. It's only been not even been 3 days, and the amount of support and that's come out has been incredible. Nick, thank you very much for everything you've done so far. It's very much appreciated. And I think we live in a great town, and I just wanted to make mention of that.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. And as always, you are a font of information. And that's very useful to know how, in your experience, the association insurance companies work with respect to
one other thing, Larry, sorry to interrupt you. Also, I'm in the process of letting Shelley Magyar, who is the property manager over there, get in contact with Joe Haggerty there in the town hall to see if he has the original building plans for Village Green, because I know he did for a lot of neighborhoods, including Wynwood, which may actually help speed up the process of restoration if they can go off the original building plans.
They should have those. They should be.
Yeah, I spoke to Shelley about that this morning.
Okay, good.
Good, great. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Jeff. Okay, anyone else? If not, we have a special presentation tonight, the Recreation Survey. So let's see. Gina, you want to walk through the introduction of the survey?
Yes. So there was a survey that was sent out in the fall regarding our facilities and programs. And I think we got 567 or 97 responses. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah.
It was a lot of responses from our community. So thank you to everyone who filled out the survey. So then our rec advisory board went through all the data, analyzed the data, processed the data, and Robin has put together now a PowerPoint with the outcomes of the survey that was conducted in the fall for our rec programs and facilities moving forward. The last survey that was done was in 2012, I want to say. So this really, is up to date, 2020 with like the needs of our community moving forward. So Robin's just going to present for us, and we have Bill Rosen on the call, who is also our Rec Advisory Committee Chair, and and I think we also have a couple of our Rec Advisory Board members. I think I see Israel Melendez, I see Janine. I guess it's hard for me to see on the call, but thank you guys for being here. So Robin's just going to go through the PowerPoint, and I'm sure Bill can chime in whenever needed.
Sure. Thank you, Gina. So I'm just going to go ahead. I think, Judy, you gave me permission to share my screen.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just going to go ahead. I think you disabled it. If you could put it on for me. It says host disabled participant screen sharing. Give it one more shot. Follow up Gina's introduction. The last time the Recreation Department actually conducted a formal resident survey was back in 2007. We did another one that was very extensive back in 2001 with the assistance of our township planners. So we were way overdue for this presentation. So the goal of this survey, as Gina mentioned, was to establish priorities for recreation facilities going forward, recreation programs, as well as to gauge residents' interest and, gauge residents' awareness with regard to what the township does offer and our facilities. So a little bit about the survey. Well, first of all, just our statistics about Bedminster Township, roughly 8,200 residents. We have tons of acres of preserved open space, 34 acres of active recreation, over 27 square miles. We have 7 miles of paved trails, 5 parks in our network, and approximately 2 miles of nature trails. So we already went through this. So a little bit about the survey. It was a short survey. It was 11 questions. We didn't want it to be too cumbersome for residents. I was prepared using Google Forms, 11 questions that were closed and open-ended. The open-ended survey questions would, give us a little bit more insight about respondents' needs and identify areas of improvement that perhaps we weren't even thinking about, as well as give us some more authentic feedback from residents rather than a simple static or nominal question. The closed-ended survey questions were necessary as well, they were made up of nominal multiple choice questions, rating scale questions from 1 to 5, and a couple yes or no questions. We actually distributed the survey via the township's website, email distribution channels using our Recreation Community Pass. We have a notification system, as well as the Bedminster School Friday folder, which is always helpful to us. We distribute it to all of our township volunteer boards and commissions, as well as some of the Hills Masters associations. We use social media, the township Facebook page, as well as some of our township committee members also pushed it out for us, which was terrific. So a little bit about the responses, just to compare our last formal survey, which was done in 2007. We actually mailed the survey home, spending money to do that, which is 3,500 households. We got a good response rate, 19% response rate, which is pretty high, and with 685 survey respondents. We figure approximately this survey was emailed, and I'm sure it was shared, but I emailed it out at least to 2,500 people, and then it was shared through social media. So we ended up with about 580 survey respondents, which is pretty comparative to mailing it to 3,500 homes. So just to show the power of email and social media. So the results were tabulated using a couple of different platforms. First of all, we used Google Analytics, the Google Analytics forms, the summary analytics that they have available to us when you create a survey. Then for the open-ended questions, I used a web-based text analyzer. I used Microsoft Azure text analytics. I used an online utility.org, Monkey Learn, and also Wordle, just to create some of the images. Then a little bit to dive down a little deeper, I used an Excel analysis template, which was from Hotjar, which was really gave us accurate information as far as the tabulating goes. So the next slides just begin a summary of each of our questions. I'm not going to spend too much time on all of these. They're pretty self-explanatory, but you'll notice that up here in the top, I actually put the number of respondents for each of the questions, because as we get further along in the survey, you'll notice that several of the questions, not all of the respondents actually answer. So you'll notice that as you get a little bit further on into the survey. And that, definitely does have an impact on some of the answers. So just starting out with some basic demographic information. Just quickly, there are more than half of the respondents actually had no children. Of the 60% with 2 adults, I actually further broke these statistics down. Of the 60 with 2 adults in the household, which equals 344 people, only 41 had children. So 300 adults had no children over here. And then when I compared it to the 1 adult, of the 29 with 1% of adults in the household, there were 169 people, 36 had children, so 133 adults, for a total of 436 out of the 580 that responded to our survey did not have children. So that's 75%. So you'll see how that translates later on in the survey. So question number 2, just pretty basic question. This was a yes or no answer, very straightforward. You can see that 18% answered yes, that they do use our township lands and facilities for recreation. 19% said no. Question 2A, this is more of a visual, just to show you that the words that are actually larger here, such as walking, biking, running, basketball, farmer's market, these were all words that were mentioned repeatedly. Just another type of analysis, just to show you a different way to play with some of the results. But again, we had 468 out of 580 that responded. So actually, how do people use the facilities that we have here? And yes, these are all pictures from our Bedminster Township area. Hiking and walking, you can see, was the top of the list. Biking second, running and jogging was third, and basketball was fourth. And you can see how that plays out. I do have a further list of very detailed answers that I did prepare in a report that I gave to the Township Committee with a lot of one-off answers. Interesting to look at those questions. Next question, 2B. We asked, again, there's no surprise here. We asked which were the most used facilities that Bedminster owns. Of course, on top was the hike and bike trail. River Road Park came in second. This was an all parks and trails, so I kind of chalked it up by adding numbers to all of these, but Miller Lane Park actually was third, which actually was pretty close in use to Burt Mills Park, so that was good. And then let's see, where else are we? So another part of the question was people were able to add other facilities to the list. So these were some of the facilities that people had listed: the Hills Pools, Nadarar, the Hills Gyms. Again, not under our, not owned by the township, not under our management, but I thought it was important to list these as there were a significant number of respondents to this. Question number 3. Do you have access to a pool or tennis? So this is actually the 71%, strangely enough, 71% here actually mirrors the number of properties that are actually located in the hills. So to me, that says that the sampling of the survey was representative. So I thought that was very interesting. Again, not much of a surprise there. So now we get on to our facility quality. This was a simple rating scale question, and the overall grade was a 3.85. I thought it was important to note here that of the 580 total respondents to this question, 112 respondents answered in a previous question that they did not use township facilities, but yet they went ahead and rated the facility quality, which I thought was kind of interesting. So the overall grade was a 3.85. And question number 5, should the township consider acquiring additional open space? It was a 3.5, so pretty middle of the ground. People were half and half on that. Okay, question number 6 dealt with recreational, again, recreational facilities. And we asked if there was a need for additional recreational facilities, whatever they be. So 54% said yes, 46% said no, kind of a split in the middle. But what was interesting was what people wanted. The number 1 response was township pool. Number 2 was the expansion of our current hike and bike trail network that we have in the municipality. And number 3 was upgrading our playgrounds and actually installing more of them throughout the municipality. And here are your top 10 answers of the facilities that were most requested by respondents.
Pickleball.
Yep, there's the pickleball. All right, so, okay, number 7, we get back to another one of these pictures. I guess number 7 to me, again, represented some of the words that were just another way to show it, the words that were in the survey that were most picked up upon. Number 7 was very interesting. There ended up being a catch-all question for a plethora of topics that dealt with safe passage. I'll give you some examples. Some of the respondents said that they were looking for safe passage for children to ride bikes from Lamington Road to cross over 206. Someone wanted a 25-yard lap pool they wanted us to install. Some people, another good one, which I thought was to have bike rentals at our park so you could ride from park to park. There was love the trails, should install a skate park, which we've already done before. New basketball courts are great. There's all different types of comments. Flushable restrooms. So it's just, there wasn't one main thing that stood out in question number 7, just a whole bunch of little ones. And I actually put them in your, the packets for all of you. Question number 8. So this deals from here on in, this next set of questions actually deals with recreation programs. And so we had told people, you know, we currently have about 50 inclusive programs from school age through adults. And we asked if people participated, and you can see only a quarter of the respondents actually participated in our programs. Now, 8A, we asked if they did participate, how would you rate the programs? Again, this is similar to rating of the facilities. So I thought it was interesting that only 140 people answered that they participated in a previous slide. However, all 580 people responded. So there's some sort of a skew there, which we'll have to, I don't know how to address that, but I just wanted to point that out overall. So the average grade was a 3.62. And next, we were interested in finding out where everybody goes. Want to know where they're recreating. If they're not recreating here, are they recreating where else in our community? And interestingly enough, most of the answers were close by. People tend to stay in close proximity. The top 10 answers were they participate in Somerset Hills Little League, other parks, and then the YMCA. And you can see how they all list out there. The swimming was people who specifically mentioned, because swimming is an activity that typically takes place at Somerset Hills YMCA, but I did break it out just so you had that, the knowledge of the activity that people were going outside for. Okay, question number 10, we asked if there was a need for additional recreation programs. And this is how it broke down. So for adult sports programs, I actually, which was the number 1 answer, I actually took all of the individual adult sports programs that were mentioned, such as adult baseball, basketball, their requests for adult softball, an adult biking program, adult volleyball, kickball, all of which we currently offer. But I just put them all together in adult sports programs. I just thought it told a better picture for this survey. Tennis instruction and leagues, golf and golf instruction, swim instruction and swim team. Now, these are some things that we just can't provide as a municipality since we don't have those features, but there are certainly other things on there that we can and that we already do, such as a youth basketball program. And and field hockey camps that people just may not be aware of, which just says we need to do a better job. So this is my next favorite one. We wanted to find out how people actually learned about Bedminster recreation programs, events, and facilities. And the top answer was actually our municipal website, which I thought interesting. Word of mouth was number 2, and email was number 3. And this is just an interesting comparison from the changes in the way we now communicate. In 2007, respondents said that newspapers was way up here on the top, and now newspapers has drifted way down to number 8. I guess that's no surprise since we're all digitalized now. Website was way down at the bottom in 2007, 13 years ago, and now it's at the top. And then email, which was down at the very bottom, is now one of the top sources. Interesting too, to point out, word of mouth has never changed. The power of the word of mouth.
So Robin, it's also interesting to me that the website got a greater hit than Facebook did.
Correct.
I would have thought social media would actually have been a little higher actually than the website.
I would have thought so too, but it wasn't. School Friday folders, still in and around the same. But so I just thought that was interesting to point out. So just a little bit about some of the summary here. So there's a couple takeaways for me. First of all, just a recap of the findings, that the survey was answered overall primarily by adults with no children. So that was exactly 75% when I did the math. When I broke down those demographic categories, 75% of the respondents had no children. So that's, I don't know if that's a good random sampling of the population for some of our questions. Recreational facilities. What I found by reading all the comments and gauging the different levels of questioning was that several of the respondents were confused as to what facilities are actually managed by us, the township, and what facilities are managed by the Hills Management Companies. There was a lot of overlap there. So that tells me we need to do a little bit better job at promoting our facilities and communicating, what we actually have control over. I just kept seeing comments that were, I wish the pools were open this summer. When are you going to open my gym? I kept seeing that repeatedly. When are you going to open my gym? And that has to do with the Hills and not the municipality. Also, when we looked at the township facilities with the rating of a 3.85 out of 5 being the best, the number one overall theme that came through was the need for improved park and trail maintenance, as well as upgrading features along the hike and bike trail in some of our parks. And some of these additional features are definitely within reach for us to do. Some of the participants also responded that they were unaware that our facilities actually existed. People commented they didn't know we had that last leg of the hike and bike trail open, that the hike and bike trail actually went all the way over to the school from Robertson Drive. There was some confusion there. And also with regard to, most respondents said that they were satisfied with the open space that we have here in the municipality, but just more trailheads, more access to some of the open space, more of the natural areas. With regard to recreation programs, it seemed that as we went through, most of the respondents have not and do not participate in our township recreation programs, which could be a skew there. The respondents rated township programs at 3.62 out of 5, 5 being the best, which and citing the need for more adult and senior programming. And so I think what we need to do is probably do better communication as to what is actually being offered. So we do have adult and senior programming. So that's probably, we need to do a better job there. And of the respondents who participated in recreation programs outside of Bedminster Township, most cited Somerset Hills Little League and other state parks and soccer. But then soccer was one of those questions that everybody wanted us to run here within our municipalities. So that's actually an opportunity for us to see if we can we don't have enough children to sustain a meaningful program, but perhaps we could partner with, some of our surrounding Somerset Hills communities to create a sustainable program, as well as for the seniors. So I thought that was interesting. And then let's talk about awareness and communications, which was the last part of our survey. Just in summary, that most of the respondents received information at Bedminster Township programs and events from our website, and word of mouth was key, and email. So it just says to me that we need to continue to pursue multiple communication platforms to reach residents, that everybody learns about something in a different way. So the multiple approach that we're currently doing is good. We just need to provide more of it, more content. We've got to find a good balance. The other part that I thought was most interesting to me was that, and something I think we've all probably known, is that half of the residents seek out recreation information. The other half just wait for it to come to them, wait for it to come to their inboxes. So we need to do a better job at engaging residents and find out what the best way to do that is. So these are my overall lessons learned here, which is a summary of just going through the different sections. I don't know, Bill, if you have anything that you wanted to add to this, or Gina, Colin, certainly you've been on the, sat with us on the Recreation Committee. Maybe there's some insight all of you could provide.
Well, first of all, Robin, thanks for putting this together. There was a lot of data to analyze and sift through. It was, my head was spinning at first looking through everything, but you did a great job. And I know there was a lot of back and forth with the committee, but I think it was a well-presented, concise, and I think, we definitely have our finger on the pulse of the township now when it comes to our recreation. And some of the things I took from it, first of all, I was surprised to see the farmers market that far down on list of activities. And I never heard of pickleball until this survey. But again, I do think, we've done a great job with all the programs. But again, I think communication is something to definitely improve on. And I was also surprised on the number of respondents with no children in the household. And I think some of the suggestions and the community wish list, I think some are realistic. I think some are grasping at straws, but I think it's a good foundation for the committee to work with, for our thought process and, adding new programs, improving things. So I think we have a great blueprint now to work with the department going forward.
Great.
And I just want to reiterate, thank you so much to Robin for putting this together. This is a huge undertaking for the entire Rec Advisory Committee. Technology makes surveying our residents a little bit quicker and a little bit more cost effective than old-fashioned mailed survey, and it was way overdue, but it allows the township and the rec department to have more data-driven decisions moving forward with our initiatives. And I just, again, want to thank the Rec Advisory Committee for all their work creating and analyzing the data. You can get a bunch of data, but what does it all mean, right? It takes a lot of work to put it all together and take it apart and put it back together. So these survey results really paint a picture of the needs and wants of our community. So thank you to everyone involved with that.
Anybody have any questions or?
Well, first, since this is Bill's formal introduction to the Township Committee, congratulations, Bill, on being chair of the Recreation Commission.
Thank you, Larry. I'm looking forward to it. And, again, after seeing the results of the survey, I've got a lot of ideas and, looking forward to working with the department and hopefully, getting, some of these off the ground and into fruition.
So what is what's the immediate next step for interpreting the survey?
Well, I think we actually just need to really respond to our residents and just give them the results of the survey. And, there's this, the use of Google Forms gives us, instant results. So, I mean, we can even take it the next step and really dive into some of these programs. I just think we need to put communication out there with regard to what our facilities are, showing like a brochure. Here's all of our facilities. Here's what we've got. And in case you didn't know, here's all the programs that we usually do. And we'd love to have you participate. We need to market ourselves better. And now that we have tapped into this, maybe the word of mouth will just expand it even further, in addition to, all the other communication platforms that we're using.
Can we send the PowerPoint presentation to the general public through a community pass or put it up on some of the social media platforms?
Yeah.
Put a link up.
Yeah, you can do it both on Facebook and on the website.
Might get some more feedback too, if people see the results, they say, wait a minute.
Right.
More go-kart classes.
I know, crazy, right? I like the bike rentals. Anyway, I thought it was really interesting, especially question number 7 for you to really, if you want to dig deep into the comments, and it's very interesting. They're all over the board, all over. So.
It is interesting is that that it really was all over the board, because to some extent I was wondering if you were going to see something that was going to, further expansion of adult and senior programming. I know that you have that down on lessons learned, but I see adult sports programs, but I was expecting to see something more, to push out. And I know, Robin, this is something that you've been doing for years, which is the museums, the theaters, those sort of trips. I would expect to see more senior-centric, or and saying senior-centric, but it could be just adult in general.
Right.
Not necessarily just adult sports programs, but expanding to more adult recreation programming. So I guess maybe that just requires digging a little bit deeper into the survey results themselves.
Yeah, there was a response there for 2 people who mentioned classes. There were just 2 people who mentioned that adult, classes, whether it be a flower arranging or something else.
And there were some, I believe, also some responses for adult fitness programs. And, but again, Larry, you're right. There were no really, specific, requests for senior citizens trips or anything along those lines.
And it's also interesting, and I'm just going to throw it out there. Certainly Rec has always collaborated with the school, and to some extent with the other, called the Bedminster charities. And there's been collaboration with the library in the past, but the library itself also offers some of these programming, and not that we should be in competition with them, but if we could be complementary on the programming and perhaps on the communication of the programming.
Right. You're right, Larry. And Marie Crenshaw from the library and myself and the Bedminster School, we all work together so that we're not offering the same programs with regard to, at the same time. We always want to complement one another. So if the school's doing a certain type of after-school program, I do something different that complements what they do. And same thing with the library. So we really are very cognizant of that as a group. But what it just goes to tell me is that the residents overall are not really seeking out the information. The stuff is all there, like you just said, with the library that offers these programs. Whatever, Bedminster Recreation, I've always thought, is a clearinghouse for information. So we have on our website all the different organizations that you can go to, adults, youth. We try to put it all out there for people. They're just not searching it. So it looks like we need to go to them more. So that was my big takeaway.
Can we create, I think this might have been discussed somewhere before, so if it has, excuse me, but is there any possibility to create a separate Facebook page for Bedminster Recreation?
Yeah. So in the past, it was the policy that we were only supposed to have one Facebook page, but I think the Township Committee is very receptive to Recreation having their own. So, that's just what we need to do. That and Instagram, I think, it was interesting. People mentioned that they they learned about Bedminster recreation programs on Instagram. We don't advertise on Instagram, so that must be from someone else who shares something, but whatever. I thought that was kind of funny. But yes, we do need to have a Facebook page.
So, what I was about to say before was just as, and I think I mentioned this during the discussion about the fire, it's one thing to have resources available.
Right.
Another thing to push that information out to those in need or those who should be or may be looking. I know this is something that Colin has mentioned before in talking about communication and social media and the trend creating a website, right? Creating a website that becomes here's all the information, here's what we're doing, come to our website and see what we have to offer, right? That's great. That's awesome.
For 2007.
That's awesome, right? And as Colin said, that's great for 2007. And, it took us a while, but we did get, a pretty darn good website going up a couple of years ago, a definite improvement in what we had before. But as Colin mentioned, the trend is pushing information out because there's so much information. There's so many opportunities to get information that people are no longer necessarily seeking information. They expect it to come to them. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing. I'm just saying that as a model that we need to look at as a town in distributing information, not just publishing it and waiting for folks to come, but in pushing data out. So I know that's something that Colin has talked about, certainly in our budget discussions about different programs and different forms for pushing information out. And, I think as I think you're ready, you've made your recommendation as to what platform you want to go with, making that available to rec and to farmers market and to ag and to every other organization that we have to say, look, here's another tool. One thing to put your poster up, it's another thing to push into someone's hands. So I see that happening, and I think that would certainly address a lot of the communication issues that we may be seeing with the survey. Yeah.
Well, if I could add my 2 cents
Yeah,
as,
of course you can.
as a member of the Hills, we do get a tremendous amount of email, as a lot of you know. We get emails from the master, we get emails from our association, we get the newsletter quarterly, and I'll tell you, a lot of people don't read it. So that's why they don't know the pools are there. They're run by the association. So my suggestion is when we have information like our wonderful rec programs, is we coordinate with another organization who these people might already be in contact with to get the information out. Because people I don't want more information just shoved in their face. They want it in the context of what they're interested in. So somebody who's interested in dogs, they'll look at dogs on Facebook all day long, but they don't exactly. But they don't necessarily want an email or a letter coming to their house saying, here's something else for you to do with dogs. They want it in a context.
Right.
And if that's something that we can come up with, I think that might be valid.
So, do you want to just transition to your discussion on RAVE?
Yeah, well, certainly we've discussed that before about using like microsegmentation within RAVE, which is a push platform. So that, hey, I'm interested in X, Y, and Z, but not A, B, and C. So I can sign up to get information updates across a variety of media. And email, again, is also very 2007. People get so many emails every day, they just ignore them. It just becomes another job that people don't want to do. So putting out in the format that people want to experience it in, be it Facebook, be it on your phone, mobile alert, something like that. We have to look at all those different media as well as getting down to the granularity of I'm interested in this, but not in that. And a platform like Rave could do exactly that. So that's why we're exploring that.
And I was thinking too that a lot of people my age use Facebook, but a lot of younger people do not use Facebook.
Correct.
And they're already off that and they're on to something else.
Right.
And if Rave could connect to something like that, that might be a good thing to look into.
Robin mentioned Instagram. That's just another great platform to do that. Right.
I just want to also mention, Jeffrey Leonard brought up something in the chat that, you know, the masters associations can send information out for us. And Renee just followed up with that. But yes, they do already now. We've been building our network. We've been, some of the masters associations we have a good relationship with, they put our content out for us, which has been very helpful. And we have ramped up with additional contacts ever since we entered COVID. So I forgot to mention that we do use right now the Hills Masters Associations to get information out.
And living in the hills, I see our content in emails all the time from the master. But Colin, going back to Rave, how is this something that you would sign up for and list your particular interests, or how exactly does it determine its demographic or its target audience?
So what we would do is we could create a sub-account for the rec department or the rec committee to be able to push information out to interested parties, and users of Rave, recipients, can provide an indication of what they'd like to see. So I might be interested in recreation and farmers market, but I don't really care about anything, you know, something else. So I'll be able to get those updates and then specify in what format I want to see those updates. I want to see them on Facebook. I want to see them in email. I want to see them on a text message to my phone. So that flexibility and that granularity in terms of targeting provides those messages to be delivered and be received more efficiently. And people tend to open them because it's reflecting what they're interested in. But we're exploring the possibility of doing that. And I think there's a strong desire to go do that. And to the point of this presentation, to improve our communications and to improve our push communications. So we're trying to work that into the budget right now. We should have an answer within the next month or so. And we're silent.
Okay, so,
That doesn't happen.
you know, Robin, great presentation, and Gina and Bill, thanks for putting this all together. And thank you to all the members of the Rec Commission who are here tonight. So while we're on this subject, any questions or comments from the public regarding the rec survey? Once again, go to the bottom of the screen. Participants, raise your hand. You don't have to, or go to the chat feature.
And actually, while we're waiting, I actually did have one question. Question 6A, 66% of participants were interested in a township pool.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's reflecting COVID, the Hills pools being closed down last summer. Would that be a correct assumption?
No, I don't believe so. I think it was so I have the ability to check the emails where the respondents come from. And there are a lot of respondents that I recognize that are in the village area and behind the library and up by Ski Hill. So it's
Interesting. So you're saying those are the folks looking for the pool, not the 60% had it. Okay.
So that was on 61% of total. That was 61% of those who responded
Right.
on that particular question.
Interesting.
Okay.
And then with respect to the hike and bike trails, did anything jump out, or the playground, since those were number 2 and 3? Anything jump out in terms of specifics, in terms of what the ask was, or was it just better maintenance on those?
better maintenance after storms. It was extending the trail network was the most popular answer, was to add to it, make more trails. And as well as garbage cans along the trails, because people are leaving their trash. There were many comments about people leaving trash on the trail, and having trails that are separate from bike riders, since the bike riders are not yielding to the pedestrians. And yeah, I think that was it for hiking. Oh, and there was a request for porta johns along the hike and bike trail. Yeah, that was another request. With playgrounds, it was improve what we have, upgrade them, better surface area. And there was also more in each of the parks. They want at River Road Park. That was the one that kept coming up.
Great,
So, I think I've mentioned this before, that this year, and maybe it's because of COVID, and we had a lot of folks maybe from other places come to our hike and bike network. I saw more trash on the hike and bike network this year than I ever saw before.
Yeah.
Some of it masks, which is, really, you can't.
They're
pick-
everywhere
You
now.
can't pick up your mask and throw it away. That's, but no, it definitely did. It was great to see the hike and bike being used when other places had no facilities. And would stand by that decision over and over again. But it certainly did make that observation that there did seem to be more trash out on the hike and bike trails. Okay, so looks like Rec still has, you guys got a busy year ahead of you. And thanks again for everyone for serving on that committee. We will move on with the rest of the meeting. Public comments. This is the opportunity for public comments. We have no one participating by phone today, so all by Zoom. Click on the bottom labeled participants. Click on raise hand, and Ms. Sullivan will recognize you for your comment. You don't have to. It's an option.
Got nothing.
Okay. So now we're 20 into it. Approval of minutes. We have 5 minutes to approve. The January 25th, 2021 special meeting, budget work session number 1. February 1, 2021, Township Committee meeting via Zoom at 7 p.m. February 1, 2021, executive session meeting at 10 p.m. February 8, 2021, special meeting, budget work session number 2. And February 8, 2021, executive session meeting at 10:15 p.m. Any comments or questions regarding the minutes? Seeing none, may we have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Permits and raffles, we have 2. First is amendment to raffle license number 292 for a 50/50 cash raffle for the Bedminster Township School PTO, changing the time and place of the raffle to 6 p.m. on April 30th, 2021 at the Bedminster Township School, 234 Somerville Road, Bedminster, New Jersey, 07921. And the second is an on-premise merchandise raffle to benefit the Special Olympics of New Jersey on June 21, 2021, from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. at Fiddler's Elbow Country Club, 811 Rattlesnake Bridge Road, Bedminster, New Jersey, 07921. Any questions or comments regarding those permits and the raffle? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Monthly report discussion by subcommittee chair. We don't have Committeeman Stevenson to start off. So we're going to start with Committeewoman Fernandez.
I knew he was going to do that.
Okay, so, well, we just had our rec update. In addition to that, we have sent out a survey regarding a possible tentative community garden initiative. So far, we've received 376 responses, which again is a lot of responses. And it's great to see the community really involved and wanting to give us their feedback. And again, I'm all about surveying the residents and seeing what their wants and needs are. So that's exciting. So that's a possible initiative. Again, we're just gauging in community interest with the survey to see, in fact, how many of our residents would be interested before moving forward with anything. I would like to have evidentiary support when making decisions, as opposed to what I want or you want or Robin wants or Bill wants. I want to see what the residents want. So that's great when we get that much feedback from our residents. So very excited about that. And that's all the updates I have for right now.
Hey, Gina?
Mhm.
Committeewoman Moreski.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Just to follow up real quick with some more information for the garden committee. I did get a chance to call Eleanor, who's the coordinator over at the library garden program. And she did confirm for me that she has a waiting list of about 20 people. and the waiting list line is about 3 years long. She was excited to hear we were talking about it, and she did agree that if we only had a small number of plots, that we could look to expand what they have at the library, and she would love to work with us on it. But after seeing these numbers that Gina was just mentioning, that Robin shared with us, it might be a little bit bigger than what the library place could hold. But I just want to tell you that that's the number that are looking for spots, at least right now, and it is a 3-year wait.
Great.
That's all I got.
Okay. Colin.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, all. Quick update, Board of Health. We have a meeting on Thursday where several applications will be reviewed. Also want to let everybody know I sat in on a county update last week hosted by the governor's office talking about COVID vaccination, and want to share some data points. 4 million people across the state are now eligible to be vaccinated. However, as we know, the supply of vaccine is currently very limited. The state is allocating available doses to the individual counties based on 3 criteria: population size, social vulnerability, and thirdly, access to transportation. As of last week, Somerset County had received over 26,000 doses of the vaccine and administered over 17,000 shots. The county estimates it can vaccinate about 5,000 people a week at present. A total of 34,606 residents in the county have already received at least their first dose. This means that many of our residents are going outside of the county to receive a dose, since we've only gotten 26,000 doses to begin with. And that's not surprising to the state, because the state ranks Somerset County as very high in access to transportation, car transportation. So those 34,000 who have received their first dose constitutes about 10% of the total county population, which is very consistent with the national average. Last Thursday, the federal government began shipping 1 million doses to retail chains across the country, including Walmart, CVS, and Walgreens, as part of the federal retail pharmacy program. 27,000 doses will initially be distributed to CVS and Rite Aids in our area. The state is also anticipating that the J&J vaccine will be available in March, which, as folks know, is easier to ship, maintain, and administer because it doesn't need to be maintained in sub-zero temperatures. Also, it's a one-and-done shot, so the state is anticipating we should see a significant ramp-up of immunized people once this becomes available. As more doses become available, the state is also anticipating moving beyond Phase 1B within the next few weeks. Phase 1B, recall, is first responders and high-risk individuals. The state acknowledged that there are problems with the scheduling system, and also the need to better serve individuals who may not be technically savvy or who don't have transportation to reach one of the mega vaccination sites located across the state. FEMA is also funding additional vaccination sites, including one in Franklin Township that recently went online. And finally, the state anticipate herd immunity. I know it's not a great phrase, but they anticipate it by the end of the summer. Mayor, that's my report.
End of the summer. Thank you, Colin. Thank you very much. So my report is pretty short. Land Use Board. Land Use Board did give a consistency determination on the proposed ordinance regarding the stormwater changes. We'll be talking about that in a public hearing coming up shortly. Also, the Land Use Board did a master plan amendment creating an office research village mixed use district. And this master plan change would allow for adoption of the zoning ordinance that would address our final bit of fair share housing obligation under the settlement agreement that Bedminster has worked out with Fair Share Housing Center. Farmers Market, excuse me, Farmers Market. We've got a Farmers Market meeting coming up next week, and also Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. We have that meeting also coming up next week.
Okay.
Yes. And that is my presentation for tonight. Ms. Sullivan.
Hi there. Couple little things. First of all, our next budget meeting is Monday. Will be budget work session number 3. Just a quick reminder, 7 o'clock. The Assistant Administrator, Mrs. Ray, and myself attended a Somerset County Municipal Managers Meeting with all the business administrators in all the towns of Somerset County last week with the new business administrator at the county level, Colleen Marr, who started January 1st. She's very familiar with municipal government. She is also currently the mayor of Fanwood. So
She is.
introduced herself and gave a very similar update as Mr. Hickey did regarding Somerset County Health Department's response to distributing vaccines throughout the county. She also mentioned if any of the towns of Somerset County experienced a spike in their levels of COVID. The mayor and I receive updates every day, and I push them out, and I have to say the last couple of days they've been 0 or 1. It's been great. I don't, knock on wood. Let's hope it stays that way. But she indicated if any of the towns had a particular spike that concerned them, I know one of the towns in Somerset County did reach out for this purpose, that she would make a special accommodation from the Somerset County Health Department to provide a special testing site in the town. They would do a pop-up testing site if you needed it. So I thought that was great that they would offer that service. You know, just contact her. She would set it up and work with the township officials to get that done. The other big concern from many of the municipal managers at the meeting was the fact that many of the towns in Somerset County are having difficulty getting their emergency services, primarily fire departments, to have enough volunteers to even get a fire department vehicle out to respond to a call. I'm happy to say, especially with what we had over the weekend, Bedminster is not in that category. However, a lot of the towns are experiencing the volunteers there's a lot of volunteers, but they're getting older and they're not seeing the younger crew coming in to replace those older volunteers. So hopefully, as Chief Draheim said tonight, we can get some people interested enough to help come out and help us fill those spots. And lastly, we got a quick little thank you from the 2020 census, thanking Bedminster for our cooperation in the census. I have to say we had a very high number of responses, self-responses rather than the door-to-door responses. So we were at the top level in the county for responses. So that's all I have.
All right, great. Thank you.
We would like to talk about ourselves. We did great in the rec survey and great in the
Survey,
census.
census.
I'll tell anybody to listen.
So moving on, introduction of ordinances. We do have an ordinance to introduce tonight, which is Ordinance 2021-002. An ordinance of the mayor and committee of the Township of Bedminster amending Article 13 entitled the Land Development Ordinance, Section 13-4-01, to add a new zone district to be known as Office Research Village Mixed Use District. This ordinance comes to us from the Land Use Board as part of the master plan amendments and would recreate a new zone. I was going to say rezone, but it creates a new zone. And once again, this would be a mixed use project. And in that mixed use project would be affordable housing that would satisfy our obligation under the settlement with Fair Share Housing and would cap our third round obligations. And Bedminster would be completed third round would mean we are good until 2025. And under the Fair Share Housing settlement, there's an obligation to actually have that zoning in place by end of June, I believe. And now the irony is, even though this ordinance comes to us from the Land Use Board, we have to send it back to the Land Use Board for the Land Use Board to make a determination that this ordinance is not inconsistent with the master plan that they just amended for the ordinance. So if we introduce the ordinance tonight, gets kicked over to Land Use Board for consistency determination, and then the public hearing for this ordinance will be scheduled for March 1st, 2021 at 7 p.m. So can I have a motion to introduce ordinance 2021-002?
So moved.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, so this ordinance will go for consistency review this Thursday at a special meeting of the Land Use Board. We do have another ordinance for consideration, an ordinance that was already determined to be consistent with the master plan, and that is ordinance 2021-001, an ordinance amending chapter 13 entitled Land Management of the Township of Bedminster, section 13-502, Stormwater Management. So this is the opportunity where I turn to Judy and say, hey, Judy, what does this ordinance do? Or in this case, Paul Ferrero, hey, Paul, what is this ordinance all about? But I think I've been through about 3 or 4 different discussions on this ordinance and the stormwater rules. So what has happened is that New Jersey DEP has come out with a new set of stormwater regulations. And in New Jersey, DEP has jurisdiction on stormwater management, and municipalities have jurisdiction on stormwater management. And DEP says from Trenton, hey, towns, you're going to adopt and enforce these set of regulations. So what this ordinance does, it adopts the regulations that the state is mandating on every municipality. And so it's up to us to make sure that our land management ordinance is consistent with the state requirements. Any more details? Please don't ask.
It gives a definition of what a major development is, and there is established a requirement for projects that have to use green infrastructure methods.
Right, so this is promoting rain gardens, controlling all, well, I want to say all, but it's really not all. As much of your stormwater management should be on site using those green infrastructure methods that the state has been promoting for years. And some of the engineers will tell you they are, okay on their efficacy, but it's something that we have to live with. And frankly, we don't really have an option. So we can either pass this ordinance or be subject to enforcement action by the state of New Jersey.
Correct.
So having said that, may we have motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2021-001?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions regarding this ordinance for the Township Committee that I have not otherwise addressed?
This is for projects going forward. This is not to be applied to old projects.
It is for projects that have not otherwise been deemed complete by March 2, 2021.
Okay.
So if there's a project that's already in queue, it's applied for, it's been deemed complete, it applies to it will be grandfathered to the old stormwater definitions. But anything new, and frankly, at this point, anything that's going to be submitted now is going to be subject to these rules.
The project on Main Street in Bedminster,
Old rules,
that's, okay.
old rules. They got their permits, they got their building permits, they're in.
Okay.
Okay, may I have a motion to open, well, do we need a motion to open it to the township or to the public?
If there's any member of the public. that
Okay,
has
does
a
any member of the
question.
public have any questions regarding this ordinance? And since 2 of the members are already, have already voted yes on consistency determination. So if any member of the public has a question regarding this ordinance or comment regarding this ordinance, bottom of the screen, raise hand, use the chat feature, whatever you want to do. Or do nothing, that's good too. Okay, May we have a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 2021-001?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
May we have a motion to approve ordinance 2021-001?
So second.
This would be roll call vote. Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Marevsky?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thanks.
Thank you. We are now not going to be penalized by the state of New Jersey. Thank you. Consent agenda, we do have nothing on the consent agenda. Resolutions, we have two resolutions. Resolutions 2021-029, establishing the fixed fee rate and the treatment cost rate components of the annual service charge for the operation and maintenance of the sewer facility for 2021. What do we got?
We have to do this annually,
Every year,
every year.
same as before.
Hopefully, maybe following our staff meeting tomorrow, maybe we'll have some thoughts going forward of how this might change in the future, but not.
Not changing for this
Not in 2020.
Okay, we have a motion to approve, or well, here, any questions or comments regarding resolution 2021-029 regarding the service charge for the sewer facility?
Nope.
Seeing none, may we have a motion to approve resolution 2021-029?
So moved?
Second.
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Marevsky?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
So the next resolution is something we discussed during the fire discussion, resolution 2021-030, requesting the approval of the Division of Local Government Services to establish a dedicated trust by rider for donations made for a specific purpose of the donor.
So early this morning, Mrs. Ray and myself got together with the CFO, and we're trying to come up with what process do we have to accept donations. We received some gift cards today, but I know Robin had people over the weekend reaching out to her that wanted to make cash donations or check donations, and who do they make the check out to? It would be easy if they could just write a check to Bedminster Township and we could deposit that into a special account, and then we could determine later how those funds might be used or distributed, okay? So we reached out to the auditor with the CFO and told them the situation that occurred over the weekend, that we had this fire, we had 16 displaced families, and we wanted to collect some donations, and we didn't have a particular, we had a trust account for the celebration of public events, we have trust accounts for all kinds of things, but nothing that really matched this purpose. So the auditor came back and said to make it rather broad and not too descriptive. And he gave us some wording, which you'll see in the resolution in your package. And we do have to get this approved by the DLGS, but he didn't indicate that he felt we'd have to wait because that approval can take 3 months. So we're not going to wait. We're going to send it down as we're supposed to, but it would allow us to go ahead and set aside a special account for this purpose.
And let me just put a little color onto this. And one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is we've had fires in Bedminster in the past. We haven't done this, but as our IT director, Vishant Saran, has told us many times, we are in the era of cyber crimes, scams being perpetrated on Facebook and Instagram and everything else. And while everyone may still not trust their government, we're a little more trustworthy than anonymous social media. Hey, we're raising money for X, Y, and Z. Send us $50. Send us $100. So I personally feel more comfortable that if money is going to be raised for people in need, that if we can set it up with the imprimatur of local government control, municipal control, that this is a more reliable for the public, that they feel more comfortable
Writing a check to
with the
Bedminster
township,
Township,
with the township running lead on this. And we can also then make sure that the money goes to the right people and not just someone who comes in and raises their hand. And we're not doing, some other,
Right.
cash raising scheme on Facebook. So just a little color as to why we're doing this when we've never done this before. So any other questions or comments regarding the resolution? If not, can we have a motion to approve Resolution 2021-030?
So moved.
Second.
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Marusky?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye.
Thank you.
May we have a motion to approve the bill list pending review of individual invoices?
So moved.
Second.
One more roll call vote. Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Ms. Marusky?
Aye.
Ms. Fernandez?
Aye.
Mayor Jacobs?
Aye. New business. So we do have a matter that's sort of carrying over from one of our prior Township Committee meetings when we hosted Marilyn Davis from Altice regarding cable and internet service through much of Bedminster Township and also for much of Bernard's Township, as we discovered. And there have been some updates from Altice on improvements. So I'm going to turn it over to Committeeman Hickey, and we'll keep this under, well, it'll be new business for tonight, and maybe we can transition it to old business for the next meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, a bit of good news. I did have a follow-up call with Marilyn Davis and her team, along with Mayor Fields from Bernard's Township. I wanted to give a couple of updates. In response to our meeting on February 1st, Marilyn convened an internal meeting with executives from their construction, field services, and outside plant organizations, as well as their corporate executive customer relations group. They developed a plan to address the immediate service problems in our area. First off, they have identified 5 cable nodes that need to be split to improve performance and relieve some network congestion. At least 3 of these nodes are located in the hills. Each node serves between 200 and 500 households, so we are addressing a significant percentage of the homes served. The nodes are targeted to be split by the end of next week, assuming the impacted homeowners associations grant permission for the outside construction work that may be necessary. We reviewed individually the list of nodes and put Altice directly in contact with the appropriate representative from each one of the master associations to get the ball rolling. So they are in process. As a matter of fact, I know at least one of those nodes has already been split. We heard loud and clear from a lot of our folks last time in the Upper Hills, as well as those communities adjacent to both Hills Drive and Robertson Road, that they have suffered persistent issues. And based on the location of several of those nodes that are about to be split, I'm hopeful our residents will at least begin to experience some relief. That being said, folks, please keep us posted because we need to continually give feedback back to Altice. We can only let them know that the service isn't working if you tell us, so please keep us updated. Also, there was some discussion on our February 1st meeting about Altice's longer-term plans for fiber to the home. I've asked Altice to see whether or not these plans can be fast-tracked or pursued in parallel to some of the current system improvements. Again, part of this relies on the homeowners associations granting right-of-way to Altice, but Altice has agreed to evaluate and report back to us. So that's some progress, and we'll continue, and we expect to continue to see continued progress on all fronts.
So one of the things that we learned certainly from the discussion with Altice is they're over capacity. I mean, I'm just going to call it like I see it and also use some plain terms. They're over capacity. So if each of those nodes, has capacity for, I don't know, 200 or 300, but they're serving 400 or 500 on each node, that's a drain on the availability of high-speed internet because folks just simply aren't getting high-speed internet. So by splitting the node, so now you create a second node. So instead of being served by one node, that community is now being served by 2 nodes. So it should speed things along. So the more node splitting they do, presumably, the better access to high-speed internet that folks have been paying for and have been promised will be available. And also, as Colin said, let us know if this works. Because I think it's important for us to know if this node splitting works. If you see improved performance, let us know. If you see no change, let us know. If you see something worsening, let us know.
Yep.
But let us know if it does improve, because we certainly get the complaints that the cable isn't working. But if we can actually determine that these changes are resulting in positive developments, then we know that hosting that meeting resulted in something. And that's something that we should pursue. So we'll get more details on the node splitting as it comes in, and also as Altice performs additional infrastructure improvements on the back end system as well. So thank you, Colin.
Thank you.
COVID-19 we covered, was going to old business, we covered COVID-19 already. Pluckman Park, I know Doug does have some updates on developments with Pluckman Park, so we'll save that for the next meeting. JCP&L outages.
No updates, Mayor. Power has stayed on, knock on wood.
Power has stayed on Bedminster. Good, good, good. Gina, senior van, the alternative program. Do we have any new developments?
No new developments. So we're still working on, and hopefully we'll get out soon, a flyer, an actual paper flyer to our senior residents with not only the information about the senior van, but and the new program that we're replacing with it through the county, but also information about registering for the COVID vaccine and phone number. We were waiting for the state phone number to come out because that's a real problem that seniors are facing in New Jersey, and we really wanted to make sure that our seniors here in Bedminster knew that had access to a phone number they could call. Getting appointments for the vaccine can be challenging, and there are most high-risk populations. So that's next up in the queue, but no new developments as of right now.
Okay, thank you, Gina. We'll move to Township Committee comments. We do not have an executive session tonight. Yay! All right.
Has that ever happened before?
Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. We may end up with one. Committeeman Hickey.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, just great job again, Robin, Gina, Bill, and members of the Rec Committee. Gina, as you said, data-driven decisions, I love it. The fact that we went out, could get that information from such a large cross-section of our Bedminster residents and then put it into practical action, that's terrific. And then now, Renee and Gina, kudos to you guys. Community garden, same thing, going out, figuring out what the demand is. So I applaud all that work. I think that will really extend, our ability to serve our constituents. And then I just want to again thank, our volunteer fire department, first aid squad, our police. These are the folks that run towards danger. And once again, they did it early Saturday morning, and they contained a fire that could have turned out much worse. I mentioned to the mayor, just a couple of years ago, we saw in Edgewater, a fire in a condominium complex that took out that entire complex, and displaced a tremendous amount of people. If not for the actions of our brave volunteers, we could have had a similar event. So, as I mentioned before, please, folks, we need to be there for them just as they are for us in our greatest times of need. So if you can volunteer your time, your talent, or your treasure, I think it would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Mayor.
Great, thank you.
And I just want to echo Colin's words. He is so eloquent all the time. It's very hard to follow. But thank you to our first responders. You guys are amazing. You're a block away from my house, and I didn't even know it was going on. I never heard anything. So you guys were quiet and successful, and it just looks amazing. And if there's anything else we can do, I thought about maybe a clothing drive if anybody needs it. Let me know what you think. I know Lisa is in a meeting with Village Green. Jeff, if you want to get with her and let me know if there's something that we can start, that'd be great. And Gina and Robin, thanks for the survey. We work really hard in the town to put our money where our mouth is. And when we know what people want, then we can provide service. It does seem silly to provide a service that nobody wants. So thanks so much. And everybody have a good night.
That's great. Gina.
And of course, just want to piggyback on what everyone's saying. Give a huge shout out to our first responders on the scene of the fire in Village Green. I just want to thank them from the bottom of my heart for their courage and bravery. Now is the time for all the families and neighbors that are displaced from this fire to recover, both emotionally and financially. And we here on the Township Committee are committed to doing our part to assist however possible. And if I know our Bedminster community, like I think I do. I'm sure there will be an abundance of support coming forward as well.
Great. Thank you, Gina. So I'm just going to echo those same comments. Thank you to Far Hills Bedminster Fire, Far Hills Bedminster First Aid, and to all the responding mutual aid companies. Pottersville Fire Company, Martinsville, Green Knoll, Liberty Corner, P-PAC Gladstone Fire, P-PAC Gladstone First Aid, Burnsville Fire, and North Branch. And of course, once again, I said it before, but Bedminster Police. For those who don't know, Chief Rock got the call, came in at, what, 2 in the morning?
Oh, way before that.
Oh,
I got the call at 1:30 and he was already here working in his office responding. Yeah.
so Chief Rock, I know you're muted, but, I know you were out there. That was very early Saturday morning, and I know you didn't leave till much later.
He was here like 5 o'clock.
Much later that night. So, just terrific response by everyone, and thank you all for your hard work. Rec survey, 590. When, I remember when we were first talking about it, we're like, who's going to respond to a survey? And to get that response is just great. And then the fact that the community garden survey, you're at 376 already? That's 390? Wow. And how much, that's going on for another few days? So that's great. So, people are responding, which is just fantastic. And I think, once again, reflective of the Bedminster community. And I'm going to do my best to, let's say, 8:54. We're going to get out of the Bedminster Township Committee meeting in less than 2 hours. Can we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you and good night.
Good night.
Night, everybody.